Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's Theological Leftovers. I want to talk to you about freedom today. I was reading the Treasury of Daily Prayer this morning, and there was a great quote from Martin Luther that was based on one of the readings in Treasury of Daily Prayer was on Galatians chapter 6. And so they had a quote from Luther talking about Christian freedom, since that's what Paul was talking about in Galatians. And he made this wonderful distinction that I want to read this. It was a larger quote, but this is one part to you that I thought was wonderful. He said, again, this is Luther, not Paul, it's Luther. It is freedom from the law, but in a way contrary to what usually takes place among men. For it is human freedom when laws are changed without affecting any change in men. But it is Christian freedom when men are changed without changing the law, right? So it's human freedom. Human freedom is when laws are changed without affecting man. But Christian freedom changes the man without changing the law, right? I love it. I love that distinction. And I just want to think through that with you a little bit this morning, just very quickly. There are laws that need to be changed. You know that is true. I looked up examples because, all you got to do is Google it. Silly laws, dumb laws, and you'll find tons and tons of them. One law, for example, was that it is illegal to drive more than 2,000 sheep down Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood, California at one time. So I guess you could do 1,999, but if you want to stay within the limits of the law, you cannot do more than 2,000 sheep down Hollywood Boulevard at one time. This is probably not a law that needs to be changed. It's probably one that needs to be just completely rescinded, taken off the books, right? These days, ironically, you can look through those lists, you can Google them. Man, there was some funny stuff. I thought about sharing a whole bunch of them, but I didn't want to lose the point of this. There's a lot of crazy laws that have been on the books. A lot of them you can tell where they came from is just a different time. A lot of them took into consideration people riding horses, and then with the invention of cars, the conflict between the two. So there's a lot of things like that people just lost sight of. But you know what? It would be easier to get rid of some of those than it is to get rid of some of the laws that are currently on the books in our country that are clearly immoral and indecent. Like, for example, this one in Portland. And pardon me for sharing this, but it's reality. It is illegal, at least it was illegal, to expose genitalia in a public place or in a place that's visible from a public place if the public place is open to people of the opposite sex. This law is intended to prevent public nudity, but it can also lead to an arrest for urinating in public. And because of that, in 1985, according to what I read, there was a case that tried to make that distinction and say this was a law, this original law about indecency was not really about nudity so much as it was about the public urination. So in 1985, there was a case, Portland versus Gatewood, that established that exposing genitalia can be permitted in public if it's part of a political message. All these silly laws that could be taken off the book or amended or changed, things that should be changed in order to protect innocent people. Here are the sort of changes that we often see, right? The whole point of this isn't just to irritate you about some of the laws that this one's been around for a long time now. The whole point of this is to say human freedom can only change laws. This is the sort of freedom that we can offer in a civil sense. And sometimes that is good. Sometimes it is absolutely necessary. I'm sure you can think of things immediately where law was changed and people were given freedom or certain protection under the law that gave them freedom, and it was good. Sometimes human laws need to be rescinded. Sometimes they need to be amended. Sometimes new laws need to be written and enacted because of changes in society. Human laws are constantly needing to be reviewed to see if they are relevant, if they are moral, if they are helpful. But one thing that human laws cannot do is change mankind himself. This sort of freedom can only be found in the power of the gospel that does not abolish the moral law. It does not abolish the created order of things in order to accommodate mankind. The gospel does not change the law to accommodate mankind. The gospel redeems mankind. The gospel changes mankind's relationship with the unchanging law of God by bringing forgiveness, life, and salvation all as a gift through Jesus Christ. So the idea is, now that I have been given these things without any meritorious work on my part, now, because of that, because of the gospel, I can get back to the original intent of the law. I can give thanks to God. I can love my neighbor, and the law guides me. It shows me how. Everything has changed because of the gospel for us. And it's all happened without one single little jot or tittle of God's law changing in order to make it happen. Let me read the quote to you again from Martin Luther. It is freedom from the law, but in a way contrary to what usually takes place among men. For it is a human freedom when laws are changed without affecting any change in men. But it is Christian freedom when men are changed without changing the law. May God change mankind in order that we may use his perfect law to give him thanks and to love our neighbor. Amen. God bless you all. God bless your week. We'll see you again next week.